welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kathleen, and here we talk about all things bookish. And if you don't really know me and you're new and just experiencing me and getting to know me, I love to talk about books. I love to go deep and just excavate them, talk about the different themes, talk about the different topics, and just really dive into the writing and why the author wrote this or did this character the way that he did. I really believe that literature is art, and it's something that is so fascinating to me. And one of my favorite themes to explore as I'm reading is grief and trauma. I love exploring grief and trauma because it reveals so much about us as humans and the human condition as a whole. And also when it comes to grief, I like to really read about grief and explore that and trauma as well, because of my past experiences with those and with the healing process that comes from grief, the healing process you have to go through to undo and unpack a lot of trauma that you have experienced in your life. And I just find what different people have to say on this fascinating. I love to see the different perspectives. I love to see how grief and trauma manifests in other people's lives and how they're able to move forward and kind of navigate that journey and come on the other side of that and change the trajectory of their life. There are two books that I have that fit this bill and that explore grief and trauma and kind of give you some context as to the realities of those things when it comes to sibling relationships and family, and also when it comes to generational trauma and kind of how that is passed down throughout the years and how it impacts each new generation. The first book we are going to be reading is Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstine. So this is a debut novel, I do believe, for this author, and it's a historical fiction. And I love the cover, thought that it was fascinating and really wanted to read it because of the cover, but also because of the synopsis. So let me read the synopsis to you. 16 years old and enslaved since she was born, Junie has spent her life on Belrain Plantation in Alabama, cooking and cleaning alongside her family and tending to the white master's daughter, Violet. Her daydreams are filled with poetry and faraway worlds, while she spends her nights secretly roaming through the forest, consumed with grief over the sudden death of her older sister, Minnie. When wealthy guests arrive from New Orleans, hinting at marriage for Violet and upending Junie's life, Junie commits a desperate act, one that rouses Minnie's spirit from the grave. Tethered to this world, unless Junie can free her, she enlists the aid of Caleb, the guest's coachman, and their friendship soon becomes something more. Yet, as long-held truths begin to crumble, she realizes that Belrain is harboring dark and horrifying secrets that can no longer be ignored. With time ticking down, Junie begins to push against a harsh current that has controlled her entire life. As she grapples with an increasingly unfamiliar world in which she has little agency, she is forced to ask herself, when we choose love and liberation, what must we leave behind? So this sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds like a great time. Like we're going to be looking into just family dynamics between sisters, siblings, and within her family, as well as kind of looking at the collective shared grief that many Black Americans face during this time. So I cannot wait to dive into this one. The next book that we'll be reading in this novel is The Devil Three Times by Rickey Fayne, which is another debut novel that has caught my eye because the premise just sounded really fascinating, as it has one of the themes and kind of like tropes that I love to read about and that I really enjoy, which it is promising to be a multi-generational family saga. And that is my thing. If you know me, you know. So let's read the synopsis so you can see exactly why this caught my attention and caught my eye. Yetunde awakens aboard a slave ship en route to the United States with the spirit of her dead sister as her only companion. Desperate to survive the hell that awaits her at their destination, Yetunde finds help in an unexpected form, the devil himself. The devil, seeking a way to re-enter the pearly gates of heaven, decides to prove himself to an indifferent God by protecting Yetunde and granting her a piece of his supernatural power. In return, Yetunde makes an incredible sacrifice. Their bargain extends far beyond Yetunde's mortal lifespan. Over the next 175 years, the devil visits Yetunde's descendants in their darkest hours of need. Lucille, a conjure woman, Asa, who passes for white, Louis and Virgil, who risk becoming a 20th century Cain and Abel, Cassandra, who speaks to the dead, James, who struggles to make sense of the past while fighting to keep his family together, and many others. The devil offers each of them his own version of salvation, all the while wondering, can he save himself too? This sounds like it's going to be epic in all proportions. I can't wait to dive into this one, which is going to be the second book that I read in this blog. So yeah, so let me stop yapping with you and get into reading these books. But yeah, let's show you this little guy. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, say hi. I will be back, guys, with an update and letting you know what's going down. All right, hello friends. So a little time, no see, no check-in. I don't know how much time has passed since I did my last check-in on this. I'm sure a good portion. As it stands right now, I'm about 69% of my way through Junie, and it has been such an amazing novel. I feel like Junie is such an interesting and equally frustrating character, but I guess a lot of the frustration when it comes to Junie comes in from the fact that she is a 16-year-old girl and she is very emotional, very volatile, and she doesn't really have a good grasp or understanding of the way that the world works, the way, even a good grasp of the situation that she kind of is in herself. And she's very, you know, selfish and kind of like self-centered, as you can be when you are a young adult. You don't really think of other people or have the critical thinking skills to kind of like navigate context clues and kind of understand the different layers, the nuances, and a lot of the different reasons why things are the way they are, or why people act the way they act, or why people make decisions and choices. You don't really understand the nuance behind that. And that's a lot of her problem. And you can see that with all of her relationships. She sees things it experiences things very superficially, based off of her limited kind of like understanding and her limited emotional like growth. But despite that, it's still a very endearing and very fascinating story, even if it is a little painful. So this is a really good, I would say, a very good coming of age story, as we are seeing Junie kind of grow up and come of age during the 1800s in the South as an enslaved person. And prose is ridiculous. I don't know if I said this in the earlier clip, but the prose is ridiculous. The way that she's able to describe things, the way that she's able to make Junie's emotions palpable, the way that she just sets a scene is remarkable. And it makes this book so immersive, and it really grabs you and just makes you feel all the feels and make you really, even though a lot of it is, you know, Junie can be frustrating, it really makes you feel for her and kind of like relate to her and understand what's going on with her and her unique situation. And so this is such a fabulous story for me. And there is so much going on within this story. There are a lot of different layers, a lot of different, I don't know, like storylines and like things that are happening beneath the scenes. And I'm really enjoying that, and I can't wait to see how all of this kind of culminates and ties together through the end. But so far, this has been a fabulous ride. Junie is just, I love her. I really do. And my heart breaks for her situation, because she is dealing with a lot of grief. She's dealing with a lot of grief for her sister. She's dealing with a lot of grief for the fact that she's carrying a lot of grief and anxiety over the idea of her life changing and her being taken away from her family and not being able to be around them and to see them and be connected with them the way that she is now. And it's such a heartbreaking thing to even think about, the fact that there were actually in this country people that were just ripped away from their families and that they weren't able to stay in contact with them. They lost contact and connection with them. And it's just such a heartbreaking thing. And it's also interesting, even with kind of Junie's stance and the way that she is thinking about these things, and how even for her, she doesn't want to necessarily, the idea of running away and trying to become free is the furthest thing from her mind. And it's actually something that she doesn't want to do and she's fearful of. Not because she's scared of I think it's because, I think she's scared of the openness, that's not the right word. She's scared of the unpredictability of what that would mean for her, and the lack of stability, the lack of structure, the lack of not being able to be guaranteed that she's going to be able to come through on the other side and be with her family. The risk is too much for her to take. And the fact that she could lose everything, her life, is what kind of keeps her in place and keeps her in line. And yeah, it's just so fascinating. I'm really enjoying this novel. I'm having such a great time with it. I will check in when I'm finished and give you my final thoughts on this novel. It's just, all right, fans, I am here to give my final update for Junie by Erin, Crosby, Eckstine, and I'm still emotionally unwell because of this ending. This took some twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and it had me bawling. Like, I was so emotional with this ending. Like, everything, the way that she wrote this conclusion, the things that happened, the way that she just set the scene, really manipulated your emotions, was magnificent. That is magnificent storytelling, excellent writing, and I really enjoyed it. Even though I was bawling my eyes out, it was still amazing. Yeah, this novel I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and I wasn't expecting it to pack as much of a punch as it did, because she really didn't hold her punches when it came to exploring and detailing the atrocities and the barbarism of slavery, of what it was like in the antebellum South during the 1800s, especially when they were on the cusp of the Civil War. She did such a great job of detailing that. She did an excellent job of creating this very relevant, emotional, and evocative coming of age story of a Black woman in America during that time. All the things that she was facing, all the collective trauma that these people went through. She just made it so palpable and so authentic. And I appreciated that. I appreciated this story. I appreciated the exploration of grief. This was so amazing. I ended up giving this 5 fabulous stars, as could you imagine me giving this anything less, because it was amazing. friends. So I am about 24% of my way through The Devil Three Times by Rickey Fayne, and what a time. So as I started this, I did feel a little discombobulated, and it did feel a little like disjointed to me, and it took me a little bit to kind of like grasp the concept and kind of navigate the switches in POV, as this is a multi-POV story, and we are seeing these different people and these different people within this generation as they are impacted by, you know, their current situation, circumstances, being enslaved, having their freedom and autonomy taken from them, and the ways that these things are impacting each of the members of this multi-generational family saga. So it took me a bit to kind of like get into and to wrap my brain around, but I'm in it. It's pissing me off in a lot of places. Some of the places it's pissing me off, but definitely making some interesting points, some interesting, I don't want to say revelations, I'm trying to think of the right word, but some interesting kind of, I guess, realities of being enslaved during this time, being Black and in America during this time, how family structures were, and again, just the barbarism, the inhumanity, and the way that slavery just really stripped a person's autonomy, stripped a person's identity, stripped away the person's sense of self, and just how bigotry and this narcissistic idea of superiority and thinking that you are better than someone, and that gives you the right to own someone and treat them as less than, to treat them as chattel, as property, as an animal. And just that idea will never ever make sense to me. It will never ever sit right with me. But exploring how, because of people like this, we have the history that we have. We have stories such as this that we are seeing in this book, and the atrocities that occur because of slavery. And there's so much of just the psychological and just the mental warfare happening, and spiritual warfare that are happening in this novel. And it's fascinating to me. I really am enjoying it. I also like the way that he has this story structured with the devil, and how we have like kind of this biblical overtures a part of this story, and the way the tone of those pieces when it comes to the beginning of each kind of section of the story, the tone and the way that he is like retelling and repurposing the biblical religious idea and themes of this story is very interesting to me. I really like that. Yeah, I'm having a good, when I'm reading books like this, I hate to say that I'm having a good time, because it's not that you're necessarily having a good time. You are feeling uncomfortable. You are shocked. You are angered. You're feeling, a wide array of feelings. However, I am enjoying the writing style. I am enjoying Rickey Fayne's craft, because he is doing it well. I am enjoying the way that he has built such complexity into this story, such, layers and complexity with these characters. I love the prose and the way that he is writing the story. I love how we have multi POVs, and each POV seems unique and distinct to that character. So that is what I'm loving when I say that I'm having a good time with this. I'm having a good time with this. Am I enjoying kind of like the themes that are being presented in this novel? I'm enjoying that as well. So I'm enjoying this man's craft, this man's, content. I ain't enjoying necessarily what's going down, but like I'm enjoying that. So that's what I mean when I say I'm enjoying this, because, slavery ain't fun to read about, but it's educational, informational, all that good stuff. But yeah, I will pop back in when I get about 50%. right, friends, so I'm approximately 59% of my way through The Devil Three Times, and this has been such an amazing experience. I definitely am getting 5-star feels from this, as it is ticking off a lot of the boxes, and it's just satisfying and scratching that itch of what I look for when I'm reading fiction, or in this case, historical fiction. I am having a fabulous time with this. His prose and the way that Rickey Fayne is telling this story is epic to me. I love the complexity. I love just how he is layering so many different things within the story, how he's navigating these different viewpoints. I will admit at some points it does get a little bit confusing because we are being introduced to so many different characters and so many different people as we are navigating and kind of like flowing through the timeline and the different generations. So it can be a little puzzling. He does have a kind of like, what is it called? Like a family tree or whatever at the front of the book that you can look back to and reference back to, which you'll definitely need to do because he kind of just flies through time. And as we're getting these different kind of viewpoints from these different people within this family, and I'm enjoying it and I'm really liking that. But the things that are really standing out to me with this novel is kind of how he is challenging the way that we perceive and that we think of faith and religion, especially within Black culture, how we even kind of navigated towards and began to step into more Christianity and how that became prevalent and part of our culture. As beforehand, we were primarily had more pagan practices, and had our own approach to faith and spirituality, and how just seeing how that kind of filtered in through our culture, and also kind of exploring where superstition comes in to a lot of the culture of Black Americans as well. As you know, we do have a lot of superstitions about a lot of different things, exploring a lot of things with root work and people that were able to kind of have dreams and were able to look into the future, or not look into the future necessarily, but they were able to see and see things that were going to come to pass. People that were clairvoyant and could see and communicate with spirits. Very fascinating. I'm enjoying that very, very much. I am also enjoying the way that we are just navigating time and history throughout these different generations, how we're seeing them through the onset of chattel slavery, and we're navigating through time, through each different time period and all these historical moments and historical events, and how it impacts this particular family throughout time. I am enjoying that. I also like how we're seeing the impact of generational trauma and the impact that the different family members' decisions have on their children, on their lineage, and on generations to come. And that's also very interesting to see how decisions that maybe if I were to have children that I would make could impact them into the future for maybe 1, 2, 3 generations down the line. That's very interesting to kind of explore and delve into. This is just amazing. I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to get back into it, but I will definitely hop back on and give another check-in when maybe I get to be about 70 or 80% on my way through the book, and let you know what my thoughts are up to this point. But so far, I'm having such a fabulous time with this book. There is just so much to uncover, as there's just so many different themes and topics and conversations that you can have from the subject matter and the content of this novel. And it is magnificent. And the fact that this is a debut novel, I'm blown away. But I'm having a fabulous time, and I'll check back in with you guys later. Hi friends, editing me here, and I have lost so much footage from this blog. It's not even funny. So I don't know if I forgot to film my final thoughts for A Devil Three Times by Rickey Fayne, or if simply I have lost the footage in this mad shuffle between different computers as I got a new iMac because I was having issues with my MacBook and editing over there. So we upgraded to an iMac. And I don't know, it's quite possible that it got lost in the shuffle. And I don't have that footage because I have lost a lot of footage from a lot of vlogs I had filmed. And this is why it's taken me forever to like upload things, because I'm trying to find all this footage and it's just, anyway, needless to say, I can't do anything about that. So I do have my final thoughts that I shared in the August reading wrap up from when I finished this book. And I am going to share my thoughts that I shared over there with you, just so that I can go ahead and get this video uploaded and get this out. This video is going to be a little hinky, a little all over the place because of me trying to either film or record the missing footage or just what have you. I apologize for that. Hopefully I can hopefully over the next couple of weeks, as I get other videos out that were impacted by this, or seeing if I can salvage any of those videos at all, we can move through this little hiccup and it'll be smooth sailing once we get over this hump. But yeah, just wanted to kind of fill you in on why this is going to be so disjointed. But yeah. So this novel, we are following Yetunde and her descendants across 8 generations as we see the devil become integrated into her story, into her narrative, due to him kind of taking pity on her plight, being abducted from her family, abducted from her village, and stolen away into slavery into the Americas. And we are seeing how his kind of interference into their narrative with his attempts at trying to help and improve their situation may actually be hurting and harming them. And is he really helping them the way that he thinks that he is? This is such a fascinating, complex, epic storytelling that is just exploring a lot when it comes to generational trauma. It's paying homage to storytelling and oral history within Black culture. We are exploring a lot of things when it comes to faith, spirituality, and religion, and I enjoyed this. This was a knockout debut novel, and it was very complex, fascinating storytelling with such epic scope. You can tell that he really took his time with the structure and the telling of the story. We have multi-POVs, which I love. A multi-POV, multi-generational family saga. I really enjoy that, and this is no different. I was thriving while reading this. So fascinating, so amazing. Upon finishing this, I literally just stared at the wall, trying to comprehend every bit of what I read, the various different themes, the topics, the ideas that were brought up in this novel. It's just endless. You can discuss it and go over it and study it and talk about it for, I feel like, hours. It is so amazing. The only thing I will say, though, if you are maybe new to historical fiction, or you're not truly a fan of kind of complex storytelling with multi POVs, and you kind of find that be a bit overwhelming or fascinating, you may not enjoy this as much, and you may find this a bit confusing and not as readable as you would like it. And if you don't like character-driven stories that really focus on the development and growth of different characters across multiple generations of a family, you may find this to be a bit boring and you may not really be wanting to get into the weeds of all of this. And it may not be the best historical fiction to start with, but you are a person who truly loves historical fiction. You love stories that have like strong literary meaning, elements within their storytelling, and you love complex themes. You love a complex storytelling that has like a lot of different things going on with multiple POVs, and that we're really getting like a lot of exposition, a lot of exploration into their background. We're really exploring a lot of heavy, complicated themes. You will enjoy this so much. I landed on a 4.5 stars for this and highly recommend. Okay, I'm sorry, the lighting here is bad. So I managed to include that bit of footage as you just saw, giving my final overall review and experience with The Devil Three Times by Rickey Fayne. Amazing book. Love it down. Both of these books, A Devil Three Times by Rickey Fayne and Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstine, were amazing. They were such dynamic books that were full of these complex, interesting characters and that didn't hold their punches. The storytelling was so well-rounded and there was so much depth to everything. I really enjoyed their writing style. I loved their unique writing voice. I appreciated the prose of both of these novels. I really respected and appreciated the content and the context of these stories. Yeah, I had a fabulous time reading them, and I'm just so blown away that both of these novels were debut novels. Had a great time with them. This vlog was so fun to film, and yeah, I enjoyed both of these novels. I hope that if you decide to pick them up, that you have as good of a time as I did with them. Maybe not as good as in like it's something that's gonna make you laugh, hee hee, ha ha, or give you some good, cozy, fuzzy feelings, but that it will definitely scratch an intellectual itch and cause you to think and have a different perspective and a different view of things as you learn more about generational trauma. You learn more about faith and spirituality within the Black culture, or you learn more about or get an idea of what coming of age in the 1800s as a Black enslaved young woman felt like, the different challenges that you faced, and the fear and constant fear of your future and what it would look like, what it would hold. How were you going to grow old? Were you going to have children? All the different things that a young Black woman faced in the South in the 1800s. So yeah, if you decide to pick up these books, definitely let me know what your thoughts are and what your feelings and your experience were reading them. And I will see you fairly soon with another video.